disabled, we're talking about disabled people. This law as written, though, is untenable. I've previously recommended to the agency that it be rewritten, the entire statute. We're really talking about the unauthorized practice of law, which has been illegal in Minnesota since 1931. So we have kind of a situation here where it's the tail wagging the dog rather than the other way around. And in the legal profession, we have scalpeled around VSOs and CVSOs to allow them to help veterans in a cheap and free manner in Minnesota, but attorneys have been around for a very, very long time. I think it would do this committee some good, as well as MDVA, to take time to analyze this particular problem and consider it in the broader context of how attorneys can help. So that's generally what I have to say here. Really thank you for your time. We love what MDVA does. We love what CVSOs do, what VSOs do. I think that they do an invaluable service. It's something that I could not do because I don't have enough time, enough money, and enough manpower to take care of. Fortunately, in Minnesota, our taxpayers have come forward with the tax revenue to fund CVSOs and MDVA claims for veterans. On the other hand, this law gets into federal preemption problems, First Amendment problems, and it needs to be rewritten as it sits. Otherwise, it's probably going to end up in litigation sooner than later if it goes forward as written. Thank you for your time. I don't have anything else, but if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Thanks. That concludes testifiers, so we'll go to members. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. Given the comments that have been made regarding time and other work to do, instead of asking some questions, I'll just make some statements and then I'll move on. The first question I would have asked is whether or not the Attorney General's office is pursuing any of these claim sharks or doing anything regarding any of the issues that are being talked about today, because that is one mechanism or one avenue that exists to go after and chase these bad actors down and make sure they're not taking care of veterans. Whether it's the AG or any other prosecutor out there in the state of Minnesota that can find these folks that they're breaking the law and take advantage of people to straighten them out or put it into it. It doesn't have to necessarily be a heavy-handed bill that clearly maybe isn't as well thought out as it should be. My second issue, and this kind of I think has to relate to some of the testimony that was shared by Mr. Lewis, is this bill was introduced on February 27th, 2025, 5 days ago. 2 of those 5 days were Saturday and Sunday. I don't subscribe to the philosophy of we're going to hear the bill and just pass it on to the next committee and keep working on it anymore, because I've seen that lead to really crappy legislation that actually becomes law. The committee to fix this in is this one. If it's not ready to move or it needs a lot of improvement, we should do it here. And that means maybe the bill gets tabled for the time being. We pick it up in a week or two, do some amendments that fix it, and then pass it to judiciary. I'm really not a fan of legislation being rushed through committee and actually not getting fixed or tweaked the way that it should be before it becomes law. And I got even more fired up as I sat here and listened to attorneys say we've actually actively stopped helping veterans because of past legislation that's been enacted, despite feedback. So I'm going to take a minute to just chill a little bit and give you the rest of my feedback on the bill, because I think, to be honest with you, we do have more agreement here than disagreement. We're trying to do something good on behalf of veterans, but I think there's more work that needs to be done with all the stakeholders involved to ensure that the bill that does pass or the legislation that does become law is the best it can be, has a chance to get feedback and tweaks from all stakeholders to ensure that at the end of the day, the veterans are being taken care of. Because I can tell you this, I'm a simple infantry guy, not the brightest bulb for a reason. March 17th will be 20 years of service for me. And I say that because I am talking to my brothers in arms who are dealing with these issues today and have been for years. And I think one of the most interesting questions, probably the most pertinent question we should be asking ourselves is, why do these veterans even feel the need to be pursuing these organizations to help them in the first place? It's because things are taking too long. It's because they're not finding resolution. And as a last resort, they're reaching out to other organizations who they think they can help, or honestly, their battle buddy probably told them, hey, this guy helped me out, or this gal helped me out, you should get in touch with them too. So I'm not being critical of the MDVA or anybody else. I appreciate the work that you do, but there's no secret in this country that veterans are not necessarily getting timely help, or their claims are being denied unjustly. And if we are going to put up barriers to resources that have proven to be successful in the past, that have helped veterans overcome these obstacles, then we are doing them a disservice. So before we go down that route, we better take the time to get this bill right, to ensure the unintended consequences aren't coming at the cost of our veterans and their family members, because if they do, epic failure. I'm a member of the VFW. I love you guys. I understand why you support this bill. I have a soft spot in my heart for the American Legion. MDVA, I already talked about you folks. Our veteran service officers,